What is up, Hardcore Nation? It's Hardcore Christopher here, and this is going to be my review of Dragon Ball Xenoverse. Now, Dragon Ball Xenoverse is an online game that came out in 2014. It was released for the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, but in 2015 it was re-released for the next gen systems, and got a sequel shortly after in 2016. Now, I had the game when it first came out. This game actually overdrafted my mom's bank account. Sorry about that, Mom. But here's what happened the first go around. I bought it, got past the tutorial, got into the Saiyan saga, and immediately got frustrated, put it down, and never played it again up until I bought not only Dragon Ball Xenoverse, but Xenoverse 2 due to the super bundle that was on sale in the Microsoft store for about $12.49. Two games for such a low price, I couldn't pass it up. And my first go around, I was an Earthling. But this time, I was a Majin. My Majin name was Toa. T-O-A. And, oh yeah. You can start, the races you can be are as follows. Majin, Namekian, Frieza race, Namekian, and Saiyan. Now, if you pick one race over the others, all their stats are different. Earthling it's well balanced, but I chose Majin. And what initially gravitated me towards Xenoverse to begin with was it was really cool. It brought me back to the time of when I played Dragon Ball Ultimate Tenkaichi, and you went into Parallel World, which covers GT and everything like that. However, unlike that character creation, which was very bare bones, and the game, looking back, wasn't very good, Dragon Ball Xenoverse, I have to say, is by far the best two arena fighter slash wait, did I said two arena fighter, 3D two arena fighter I've played. The RPG elements, now I'm going to be completely honest, I put a lot of points into health and melee. Well, into my basic attacks. And of course I upgraded my key stamina, key supers, melee supers, and those are and those are all of the stats you can upgrade. You How do you get points? Well, you get points by failing a mission, by completing a mission, and through those points you get attribute points. You get 3 at a time. There were points where I would go into a mission and forget I had attribute points until I got more attribute points, and it's like your attribute points have went up from 3 to 6. I'm like, oh yeah, upgrade I need to upgrade my stats. um you do have skills, but many of the skills, like Super Saiyan, well, the transformations at least, are hard locked because you have like Kaioken, Super Saiyan 2, and Super Saiyan 3. And because I picked Majin, I was able to go Kaioken. But I thought it'd be very funny to see a Majin go Super Saiyan. But unfortunately, because I wasn't a Saiyan, I couldn't be a Super Saiyan. I just thought it would be funny, but the game just said no. Um, let's talk about the story. I have played a lot of Dragon Ball Z games, from Dragon Ball Z Budokai to Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2 to Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 to Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Tenkai to Ultimate Tenkaichi to Battle of Gods, which, well, no, it wasn't Battle of Gods, it was Battle of Z, and I kid you not, Battle of Z, this is how quickly I hated it. I bought it from GameStop, put it in, played it for a little bit, and the very next day, I looked at my mom and I said, "You will never hear me say this again, but I bought this game and I didn't like it one bit. Can we go return it?" She said yes. So yeah. Um Burst Limit, Raging Blast 2. Bottom line is, besides Parallel World, which just was a rehash of GT, all of the games that I mentioned have you go through the Dragon Ball Z story as it unfolds. So here you have the prologue, which has you beat up Trunks to learn the controls. Then you go into the Saiyan saga and you think everything is kosher until it becomes time for Goku and Raditz both to die at the hand of Piccolo with the special beam cannon. But instead of that, Raditz just, there's a purple aura that comes around him, and he grabs Goku's arms and separates to where Goku dies. That's not supposed to happen, and Trunks just goes, "Goku needs our help. Help him." So we go to the we go to help Piccolo along with Goku and myself, Toa, against Raditz, and everything goes back to normal. I had a very fun time with Xenoverse. However, I can say this beyond a shadow of a doubt: I hated some of the missions. Um, anyway, but yeah, I'll get onto that in a little bit. Um, so after we go, after you help Goku and Piccolo during during the first half of the Saiyan saga, you have to help Krillin and I want to say Frieza for some reason, but no. Krillin and Gohan against Nappa and Goku. Well, no, Nappa and Vegeta, sorry. And this is where I started to have issues. Well, wait, sorry, I skipped something. You fight the Cybermen, and then you go on to Nappa and Vegeta. So, the whole story of this game is time is changing at a rapid rate, and we meet these two original characters for this game named Mira and Toa. And Toa and Mira are from the demon realm. Toa is the daughter of Deborah, and Mira is just her personal her personal um, assistant, I guess you would, her personal weapon. And Mira needs a lot of power. And you think they are the big bads of this game because they get in your way. And for what it's worth, Mira is very tough. But that's not that they're not the main bad guy because you obliterate Toa in, well, not Toa, but you obliterate Mira, excuse me, with a ki blast during the Boo saga. And Toa just ends up vanishing, and you're like, okay, what next? Well, then you find out that the bad guy, that the main baddie of the game is this original character by the name of Demigora. And Demigora was the villain that the Supreme Kai of Time, who, for from how I understand it, is an original character, and she guards this thing called the Time Nest. The Time Nest has all these scrolls, which is all the different ages of the Dragon Ball verse. So you go from the Saiyan saga to the Namek saga to the Frieza saga to the Android saga to even Future Trunks' Android saga to the Cell games to the Boo saga to the the Beerus God of Destruction saga, and finally you have the last saga, which is the demon god Demigorgon. Demigorgon's entire goal is because 75 to 85 million years ago, he tried to take the time nest, but the Supreme Kai of Time sealed him away in the crack of time. And the reason why history is distorting is because he is gathering up enough power to escape the crack of time that he is imprisoned in, which he does. And when he gets free, he captures Toki Toki and eats him and swallows him, which leaves your character to fight Demigorgon. But Demigorgon takes control of Trunks, and Trunks is in Super Saiyan form. And that's late game. And I have a really big issue with the late game. So like I said, history is changing. So once you go from one saga to the next, fixing history. And I will admit, a lot of the villains are very, very, very tough. They're tougher than usual. But I mentioned earlier that I had a big problem with some of the missions. And a lot of the missions that I had a problem with was when you had to protect someone, like Yamcha and Tien from the Cell Juniors, or when Ginyu body changes himself into your character's body, and you have to go to Frieza's spaceship and protect Gohan and Krillin from Frieza's goons. Only problem, Frieza's spaceship is very, very, very confined. And you have to stay on Krillin and Gohan, because once they die, once they get KO'd, they aren't. The mission fails. You fail the mission because you're supposed to protect both of them, but it's so hard because they're locked in combat with Frieza soldiers, and they're not all in one spot, so you have to run around and hope that they don't die. Now, by far, the hardest mission that I had protecting someone was Trunks against Future 17 and Future 18. You know where Trunks goes back to his time period after he helps Goku and the others in the past, and he kills off Cell, Android 17, and Android 18 with relative ease. Well, Toa and Mira decide to try to erase Trunks from ever existing by changing his timeline. And in his timeline, he is Super Saiyan, but he can't get rid of androids 17 and 18 because of the time change. So you have to go there and save Trunks. Only one problem: it's 2-on-2. And while you may think that is good, 2-on-2, Trunks is absolutely useless. And that is the majority of my problem with the people you're supposed to protect, is they don't hold their own against the enemy. You have to stay on them, otherwise you fail the mission. Not because you get knocked out, which happened to me a lot, but mainly because your ally gets knocked out. And I got so frustrated because every time I would get damage on 17 or 18, and I'm the type of player to just charge right into danger and not even blink an eye. It seemed like every time I would get damage on 17 or 18, the other one would just be like, hey, stop that, and beat me up. Meanwhile, Trunks is either knocked down or firing ki blasts, and it doesn't really help all that much that your allies do little to no damage. And finally, I just got really, really, really freaking lucky when it came to my ultimate. Because I put a lot of time and effort into my basic attacks. So my ultimate was literally just... Actually, at that time it was the Scatter Kamehameha, which you learn from Krillin. And this is another thing that I really liked about the game, is the Master System. The Master System is, you have Dragon Ball characters that show up in Toki Toki City, which is the hub world, and Toki Toki's, and you can pick who you want to learn from, like Raditz, Hercule, Gohan, Goten, Gohan Adult. And and out of all of the masters I could have chosen, I chose Krillin. And Krillin isn't a good master. He gave me the Scatter Kamehameha, which did damage, but he also gave me the Orin combo, which was just... it did some damage. And then what was it? He gave me the Scatter Kamehameha, the Orin combo. Oh yeah, and his Destructo Disc, which, I mean, it tracked your opponent, and it at least landed. But I never switched off of Krillin because I loved beating him up. And I really liked the Master System. The only thing that I really had a problem with was the end game. And what do I mean by that? Well, when you go through the Saiyan saga, the Namek, Frieza, Android, Future, Android, Boo, they all have one health bar. It's not until you get to the God of Destruction and the Demigora that characters start having two health bars. Now, Whis and Beerus and Demigora make sense, but you want to know what doesn't make sense? There's this mission called Total Chaos Rival Rumble, and you have Gohan, Gotenks, and Vegeta. And Gohan has one health bar, meanwhile Gotenks and Vegeta have two. Demigora, his ability is he can put people under mind control. And that's very, very, very cool. The only problem is, the first time you see this is with Piccolo in the Boo saga, and I kid you not, Goten and Trunks were able to defeat Demigora on his own. Of course, it was like I don't know what you would call it, but it was like a mirage, I guess you would say. And okay, okay, and Demigora. Well, Goten and Trunks were able to defeat Demigora on their own, and then they're able to fuse into Gotenks. But wait, I'm sorry. Total Chaos Rival Rumble actually had two waves of enemies. First was Perfect Cell, Kid Buu, and Frieza. They all had two health bars. Goku comes and says, I heard everything from the Supreme Kai of Time and I'll fight with you. Okay. And that's all well and good up until you realize that Goku does literally a tick of damage. Like, his damage is so minuscule. Yes, you can see it, but it's like all up to your character, and that got very annoying very quickly. So then you get down to Demigora, and Demigora, I was expecting a fight, which I got. What I didn't expect and this is silly on my part, but what I didn't expect was a multiple stage boss fight. And what do I mean by that? Well, Demigora, you face him once, and then after you knock him off of his first health bar, he goes, too bad. It seems like your friends do my bidding. And then Trunks shows up in Super Saiyan, and you have to battle him and Demigora. Then, after you beat Trunks and Demigora, you have to face Demigora again. Only this time, De- uh, Demigora goes, "Don't get too cocky." And then he tries to use his mind mind control magic on your character, and this is where Trunks actually becomes useful. He he does a sword slice, and then the Supreme Kai of Time uses her magic to prevent Demigora's magic from working. Then Goku enters the scene, and he's weaker than before. How is that possible? I have no idea. And then the third stage, you follow him. You follow your character and Goku follow Demigora to where he was imprisoned, the Crack of Time, and finish him off once and for all. And then everyone saves. Then there are cutscenes, and then Trunks just goes, "Time Patrol recruits. Let's have a little bit of a spar." There's 4-on-1, and your character just boots them all to be the last person standing. And that's it. I was curious because I saw in the credits of the game, it's at Super 17. But I'm like, wait a minute. We never went into GT. And Super 17 is a GT exclusive. So, is there anything after the credits? Well, there was. But after you beat the game, there is literally nothing else for you to do. Unless you want to do the parallel quests and train under different masters, there's nothing else. And one weird thing is there's this pedestal in the middle of Toki Toki City where the Dragon Balls are required. And I went up to the pedestal multiple times, and it said, "Please come back when you have all 7 Dragon Balls." And I'm like, how do you collect the Dragon Balls? Unless you buy them, which is just, I'm not gonna do. So, it was never really clear on how to get the Dragon Balls. There is customization, like with different clothing, and it affects your stats in different ways. There's this mixing shop, which is where you get shards, and those shards you can mix into capsules. The only way I was able to defeat Demigora is, no joke, by just getting a bunch of healing items and just changing all of my item slots to healing items. And I'm very glad I did. And I thought the story was incredible. Uh, the oh the uh, the Dragon Ball Z theme song, Chala He Chala, it wasn't done by the original composer. it was actually done by Flow, and I have to say I prefer the original better. Maybe it's because I just grew up on it. Um, but all in all, the experience was fantastic. I can't wait to dive into Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 to see what that has to offer. But right now, I really don't feel like diving into Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 right away. Um, but yeah, this has been my review of Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse 2. Uh, Not Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, but Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1. And I hope you all enjoyed. If you liked my review, great. If you didn't, great. Um, but what are your opinions of Dragon Ball Xenoverse? I'm Hardcore Christopher. Keep it hardcore, everyone.